Congratulations, champ. You've done it. You are officially the most well-informed, intellectually superior, highly optimized piece of furniture in your living room. You've spent the last 6 hours binge-watching 10 Habits of Millionaires while eating a bowl of generic cereal over a sink. And honestly, the irony is so thick you could spread it on a bagel. You're a walking encyclopedia of how-to and a graveyard of never did. You know the exact morning routine of a Silicon Valley CEO, the 4 a.m. ice bath, the bulletproof coffee, the transcendental meditation. But the only thing you've successfully executed this morning is hitting snooze until your alarm clock gave up on you. Welcome to the golden age of information and the stone age of ambition. You're suffering from a severe case of mental obesity, my friend. You're stuffing your brain with 4K resolution self-help nuggets like they're McNuggets, and just like a fast food binge, you're not getting any stronger, you're just getting bloated with ideas you'll never use. Look at you, scrolling through TikTok hacks on how to double your productivity while you haven't even made your bed. You've got a folder of saved videos on Instagram that is longer than the US Constitution, filled with workout routines for abs you haven't seen since the Obama administration, and recipes for kale salads that you'll replace with a stuffed crust pizza the second you feel a minor inconvenience. You are the ultimate consumer. You're like a guy who buys a $5,000 mountain bike, the professional spandex, the aerodynamic helmet, and the specialized shoes, only to ride it once to the 7-Eleven to buy a Slurpee. You don't want the result. You want the dopamine hit of feeling like you're the kind of person who wants the result. It's the American Dream 2.0. Why work hard to achieve something when you can just watch a 15-second clip of someone else doing it and let your brain trick you into thinking you've shared the victory? We live in a country where you can learn rocket science on YouTube for free, yet we use that power to argue with strangers about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. You've got the world's collective knowledge in your pocket, and you're using it to check if your ex is still miserable or to find out which Disney character matches your star sign. You're a professional student of life who never shows up for the exam. You know all about deep work, flow states, and time blocking, but your actual work consists of rearranging the icons on your desktop and checking your email for the 14th time in an hour. It's a beautiful cycle of procrastination disguised as research. You tell yourself, I just need one more tutorial, or I need to read one more book before I start my business. But let's be real, you're just terrified that if you actually try, you might find out you're not the hidden genius your mom promised you were. And hey, while you're sitting there in this paralysis of analysis, being a scholar of things you'll never do, why not do something that requires absolutely zero effort? Hit that subscribe button. Seriously, it's the only action item on your list today that doesn't require you to get off the couch or face your fear of failure. It's the perfect way to feel productive without actually being productive. Go ahead, join the club of people who like to watch things. It's what we're best at. We've become a nation of overthinkers and underdoers. We've got apps to track our sleep, apps to track our steps, and apps to remind us to drink water, because apparently survival instincts aren't enough anymore. We need a push notification to tell us we're thirsty. You've optimized your life so much that there's no room left for actually living. It's like those people who spend 3 hours picking a movie on Netflix and end up falling asleep during the opening credits. You're so worried about making the perfect choice or starting at the perfect time that you've forgotten that done is better than perfect. But perfect is a great excuse, isn't it? It's the luxury witness protection program for your ego. As long as you're preparing, you can't fail. You're a legend in your own mind, a mogul in waiting, a titan of industry who just happens to be wearing pajamas at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Think about it. Your grandfather probably built a house with a hammer, some nails, and a can-do attitude that bordered on reckless endangerment. He didn't watch a 45-minute video on the Zen of carpentry. He just hit things until they stayed together. Today, we watch a 3-part docu-series on the history of wood before we even buy a screwdriver. We're drowning in useful content, but starving for simple action. We've turned learning into a form of entertainment. It's edutainment. It feels like progress, but it's just a treadmill. You're running really fast, sweating a lot, and looking at the digital display telling you how many calories you've burned, but when you step off, you're still in the same damn basement. The algorithm knows you better than your therapist does. It knows that if it shows you a video titled, "How to Change Your Life in 30 Days, you'll click it, feel a momentary surge of inspiration, and then immediately click on a video about the dark history of Chuck E. Cheese. You're trapped in a loop of passive consumption. You're the guy at the gym who spends 40 minutes picking the right playlist and 5 minutes on the actual treadmill. You're the person who buys the masterclass from a famous writer but hasn't written a grocery list in months. You've gathered all the ingredients for a 5-star meal, but you're too busy reading the reviews of the pans to actually turn on the stove. And let's talk about the guru culture. These guys are geniuses. They sell you the dream of a life they only have because they're selling you the dream. They tell you to hustle, grind, and wake up at 3 a.m. while they're filming in a rented Airbnb with a leased Lamborghini in the driveway. And you sit there nodding, taking notes in your $30 Moleskine notebook that you bought because a productivity influencer said it would unlock your creativity. Newsflash, the notebook is empty because your head is too full of other people's ideas. You're a mimic, a high-definition, high-bandwidth copycat. You've got the vocabulary of a winner and the daily routine of a sloth. The American dream used to be about doing. Now it's about appearing. We want the aesthetic of success without the sweat of it. We want the before and after photo without the 3 months of misery in between. We've become addicted to the feeling of being informed. It's a cheap high. You read an article about 10 ways to save money and you feel so good about yourself that you celebrate by ordering $40 worth of DoorDash. It's a mental shell game. You're moving the cups around, but there's nothing under any of them. You know why you don't do anything? Because doing is boring. Doing is hard. Doing involves the very real possibility that you might suck at it. It's much safer to stay in the useful content cocoon where you're always one video away from greatness. You're waiting for a sign? This is it. You're waiting for the perfect moment? It was 5 years ago. The second best time is now, but you'll probably wait after you check your notifications. You've turned your brain into a storage unit for junk you'll never use. You're a hoarder, but instead of old newspapers and dead cats, you're hoarding life hacks and motivational quotes. So, what's it going to be? Are you going to keep being the smartest person in the room who has nothing to show for it? Are you going to keep being the guy who can explain the intricacies of Bitcoin but can't figure out how to pay his rent on time? The world doesn't pay you for what you know. If it did, librarians would all be billionaires and Google would be the king of Earth. The world pays you for what you do. And right now, all you're doing is breathing my air and taking up bandwidth. Stop learning and start failing. Go out there and make a mess. Be the guy who writes a terrible book instead of the guy who reads 20 books on how to write one. Be the guy who starts a business that goes bankrupt in 6 months instead of the guy who's been refining his business plan since the iPhone 6 came out. At least the guy who fails has a story. You just have a browsing history that would make a monk weep. You're paralyzed by the infinite options of the digital age. It's choice overload. You're so afraid of picking the wrong path that you've decided to just sit at the crossroads and set up a tent. Well, the tent is on fire, buddy. Time is the only resource you can't life hack your way out of. You're losing it every second you spend watching a simulation of life instead of actually living one. You know everything. You really do. You're a genius. Now, for the love of everything holy, go do one thing. Just one. And no, commenting on this video doesn't count.